Welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Prateek Sharma. Prateek, welcome on the show.
Thanks for having me, Nitin.
Pleasure is all ours. Let's start with the big question. Who is Prateek?
It's an existential question. I'll try to answer it in 1 minute to capture all of this. So I'm a founder turned investor, which means that I used to be like on the bright side of things, and I've now gone on to the dark side of startup life, but loving each minute of it. I run a fund called Ahead VC. Ahead VC is focused on helping cross-border founders in India build for US markets. That's what we do. I've been a very, very active angel investor for the last 6 years. That's where Ahead VC came out of from my angel investing practice. And before all this investing life, I used to be a founder. I ran a company in Bangalore for many, many years, founded in 2010, like the super early days of the India startup ecosystem. I ran it for many years, raised venture capital from other investors at that point in time, and eventually sold the company to Makemytrip. So really kind of took the whole founder journey. That's work. I'm an engineer by training, so very, very technical, but also a huge lover of the arts. I'm a husband to a wonderful founder. So we've got 2 founders in our household. And also a dad to a 12-year-old. That's a big part of my life and joy and focus. Yeah, and like when I'm not doing my work stuff and startup conversations and taking care of my 12-year-old, you'll kind of find me brewing coffee, because a big coffee fanatic. Some people would call me a coffee snob, but I reject that label.
I think those things go hand in hand, but you did an amazing job of sharing a very, I'll say, well-lived life, a very well-rounded life that you have been living, and a lot's going on. You have your hands full.
Lots going on.
Yes, and also I would like to note this in our conversations. I've known you to be very, very humble, and I really appreciate that. And it brings a lot of things into perspective. It also, I think, puts you in a very good position in the role that you're playing today, both as a supporting husband, a parent, and also an investor and mentor to many startups that you're helping. So kudos again on your successful exit, on your move to the Bay Area, and to launching and successfully leading Ahead VC. Let's talk a little more about what Ahead VC is.
Sure.
And also, why you do this. I know you're now here in the US, but you're still helping companies that are based in India that are making products for the world to consume. So tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Nitin, I'm also a big part of like my work focus, personal mission. There's a huge kind of alignment of multiple forces, which has kind of come together in Ahead. So there's saying that Ahead is very specifically focused on cross-border companies from India. So these are companies in India, founders in India, who are operationally building out of India, but are targeting the US market. Today, that journey or that sector is very dominated by software-centric companies. So think of SaaS companies or developer tools companies or companies which are kind of helping workers be more productive, etc. That's really kind of the big, kind of the dominant categories within this cross-border segment. So really the goal for Ahead in the short term is to become a strong operational investor partner to these companies, because like I've been a founder myself, and really my personal excitement in kind of doing investing comes from being a partner and working with other founders. So that really is kind of our kind of short-term goal. But the mission, which is actually not just an ahead mission, but also like a personal mission for me, is to really accelerate this cross-border journey for founders. It takes, like we've got really high quality founders in India coming out of very, very kind of high quality companies, building innovative products. And yet they kind of face a lot of very kind of niggly challenges in kind of building these companies. So really that is the mission, to kind of help accelerate this whole cross-border journey for founders, help founders do this faster, better, scale companies quicker. That really is the mission. In the long term though, I also see that what ahead is focused on in the short term, which is cross-border from India, the trends actually exist all over the world. So like we have large companies being built out of Southeast Asia. Atlassian, one of the biggest SaaS companies, is actually built out of Australia. And so India just seems to be a country which is like furthest along on this trend of building in India, but for the world. That will happen. That is already happening in elsewhere in the world. And really the ultimate kind of vision for me for building ahead is to build a lasting firm which helps cross-border founders, cross-border builders, really anywhere in the world.
And I think the timing couldn't be better, right? We are at that inflection point. We are at that maturity, if you will. And the government, the culture, all of those things, as they say, the stars are aligning for that to happen, for that inflection point to really take off. And I can't think of a better person than you to be in the mix of those things, because you've had that journey yourself back in 2010. I'm sure there was, no precedent.
I can tell a lot of horror stories about that time.
I can imagine. I mean, it just wasn't conducive for startups and for fundraising. And you did that at that point, and things have gotten better for the local markets. But as you said, startups and founders can do this on their own. They could reach out, and they do reach out to US markets, but would you rather focus on the products and the customers, or on the journey to get there? And so the work you're doing is extremely important in helping accelerate the pace and the quality at which the companies can get here. Now, this whole Make in India movement has been alive and thriving for the past few years. Give us a sense for the impact specifically within the SaaS companies that are catering to markets outside of India.
So the Make in India movement, the India startup ecosystem, both have had like a crazy decade. And just kind of set things up in terms of context, when I launched my startup in 2010, India had like 0 unicorns. It's a very small startup ecosystem, no unicorns at all. And today, if you look at the ecosystem, we have a thriving ecosystem. We have about, 120 or so unicorns in a span of a decade, maybe just over a decade. It's crazy to kind of think of those numbers. When I was growing up, I wouldn't have imagined that India would be on this trajectory of these crazy startup innovation-driven growth, which is very, very heartening. Now, within the broader ecosystem, even the cross-border sector has grown significantly. So India has about, of these 120 or so unicorns, I think 20 or maybe a little over are actually cross-border companies. So these are companies operating at scale, which were born in India, are actually even now built mostly in India, but sell all over the world. So in some ways, kind of at the large scale operation of the journey, there's meaningful number of companies which are already created. That said, this is still very, very early days. I think the ecosystem is just about getting started, and I've kind of been looking at the ecosystem very, very closely. It seems to me that every year, the journey of the cross-border ecosystem keeps accelerating. I see this in the number of companies being created, the quality of founders that are kind of creating these companies. How much investment capital is kind of going in these companies. How quickly are kind of companies kind of hitting their kind of next milestones. Several markers of like really accelerating growth. That is what kind of really excites me, and also kind of intersects very kind of closely with my personal focus, which is like really to be an enabler of founders, kind of bring the empathy from my founder life and kind of use it here in this moment. So yeah, really kind of the coming together of a personal mission and a personal meaning with this exciting moment in the India startup ecosystem.
That's amazing. That's always a good combination to have, right? Where your purpose and your passion and the profit comes together.
Yeah.
Tell us about the biggest challenge these founders tend to face. They're based in India. They're making really good world-class quality products, but are catering to a market that's not their home base.
Yeah. So again, a great question, a significant challenge. It's also weird to kind of talk about these challenges because there's so many success stories. So you
True.
feel that we are succeeding. Like, why is there a challenge? Maybe it's all of this is solved. And so just kind of set the context of success, right? India, as I said, like 20 odd unicorns, which are cross-border. I think 2020 numbers, revenue numbers I was looking at, we have about $2.5 billion of revenue numbers, which means like market valuations,
right,
given the correction in the stock market, anywhere,
10x.
close to 10x, and poised for great growth over the next decade. Just in terms of revenue numbers, we expect, we're looking at a Bain report, and this could go as high as like 20x in terms of revenue numbers. Market valuation, whatever, that'll kind of vary by what what the market is feeling on that particular day, but strong opportunity ahead. And in spite of that, the challenges that founders face, all of these are very, very strong operators, have deep credibility networks in India, but when they come to the US, they're severely under-networked. So if they have to raise capital, if they have to hire people here, if they just have to kind of run any kind of a go-to-market motion, all of those take time because you have a sparser network to work with. So being under-networked, a big problem. Second is the kind of credibility signals that you bring as an individual, as an operator. A lot of them are not understood in the US. So, yeah, you went to IIT. Like, is IIT a great college? I don't know. Like, I haven't seen that. Or like, you were a senior director of sales at Freshworks. Everyone in India would know Freshworks because like great success. It's a publicly listed company. Like no one knows. Yeah, Freshworks. Yeah, even the Indian diaspora probably wouldn't know of Freshworks because it just isn't kind of part of the American or the US public consciousness. Yeah. So so under-networked, don't have kind of the right credibility signals, which means that like opening every opportunity, like getting through that door, just takes that bit of extra work. And along with that, there's also some knowledge challenges. Like the context of how you operate a business in India is very, very different from the context how you do it in the US. How you initiate business relationships, what do you expect, how do you price your product, several nuances which are very, very different. And so these really are kind of the challenges. And none of them are kind of rocket science. It's not that these are like, oh my God, can't be solved. But it just takes a lot of grind from the founder to solve it. Takes a lot of grind, takes a lot of time. And like time really is the killer for startups. If you're not able to solve these problems in 6 months, 12 months, you're dead.
That's existential crisis, right?
Yeah. So those really are the challenges. And my hope is that like ahead and also kind of the broader ecosystem, which is now emerging in this cross-border space, will be able to help founders, like overcome these challenges faster.
On the flip side, what's the most exciting opportunity? I mean, obviously, despite these challenges, the companies exist and are thriving.
Yeah.
What's the forward-looking, exciting thing over there?
Yeah. So really my ultimate excitement in this comes from the quality of people who are building these companies. Um, and so in the last, like, I've been in the US the last 6 years, every, like, over the 6 years, like literally every week, I would kind of meet a new founder who's kind of from India, who's visiting the US. We'll go get coffee. We'll talk about all kinds of random stuff. And what's really stood out to me in the last few years is just how deeply founders are kind of knowledgeable of the market that they're building in, as opposed to even like 5, 7, 8 years ago. So there's a lot of domain knowledge. There's a lot of functional knowledge now. So if they're a salesperson, they've actually maybe led kind of sales functions to scale revenues to tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars. So they've actually lived that journey. Or with a product person, they've actually launched a product, scaled it, gone through like multiple product cycles. So really, really strong functionally. So strong domain knowledge, strong functional knowledge, and hugely ambitious. So there's no kind of holding back, no kind of doubts about, like, oh, like, can I do it? Is it possible? Like, there's no iffiness about like just going after this opportunity. That combination, like, really is like, I feel like scarily good.
Yes.
Like when you see founders, you said like, wow, like I wasn't like you when I was your age. You have like a lot more clarity, a lot more ability. And to me, that really is like the biggest driver of my optimism in this category. Of course, this optimism on the human side is supported by what's happening in the market, like with the world kind of going remote, and there's huge openness on markets now to kind of engage with you on a Zoom call. You can take a Zoom call anywhere. You don't have to be based in the US. You can kind of sign contracts without having personally met this person, because yeah, the businesses are open to that. And those are all kind of supporting kind of tailwinds from the market, which really is enabling these crazy talented founders coming out of India. And that really is what's kind of, yeah, keeping me, super excited about this.
That is awesome. Now, as we look forward, let's take a look in the rearview mirror and talk about two things. One, that became a success beyond your imagination, and the other one that did not, and failure became a lesson.
Yeah.
So would love to share one of each of those experiences.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So many lessons. Maybe let's talk about a founder, a portfolio company, because that to me, it illuminates a lot about what startup journeys are like, how success is created. So I'll tell you about this company called Grow. GROWW. Grow is based in India. I'm an early angel investor there. Grow is building essentially like the Robinhood, but for Indian markets. So like a trading, investing app for Indian consumers. So the Grow founder, Lalit, I've known him for a while. We overlapped in Bangalore while Lalit was doing his previous company, which was not doing very well. He had to eventually shut it down and do something else, and then eventually come to building Grow. I invested very, very early because I knew the founder extremely well. And then so I invested in 2016 or 2017, around that time. And Grow was just about starting off. It was also an interesting time in India when like the UPI infrastructure was just about getting set up and slowly getting scaled. So there was ease of transactions online. India was also kind of on this great bull run. So slowly, and not just India, but like really the world. So that was driving a lot of new retail investors into the market, and people were looking for a product like Grow. It was also a time where like the mobile penetration in India was scaling. It continues to scale, but it was still early days there. And Grow just happened to like perfectly time the market. They were an exceptional team, like no doubts about it. There's 3 founders, very, very strong at product, very, very strong at like understanding financial markets and those products, very strong at operations. So like really strong team, no, like not taking anything away. But that combination combined with market timing just created this hockey stick, which was unbelievable. In a span of like 4 or 5 years, Grow has gone from like being born. They raised their last round last year at a $3 billion valuation.
Wow.
It's insane. Like I haven't seen anything. Well, I've read about these stories, but I haven't seen any company kind of personally kind of go through that journey. And really it was, this combination where an extremely solid team, but also arriving at a moment in the market where they positioned themselves very well and like really executed extremely well along with that growth. That was quite a journey to see. Yeah.
Well, congrats to you and for spotting the talent and believing in the founding team, and then also for the team for being there.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're there at the right place at the right time, but you just don't have what it takes to execute. So 100%. Kudos to them.
100%. Yeah. I think the timing is, you still have to execute on the opportunity. Yes. And then the second question you said was, what didn't work out well?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was, and I'm not going to name the name of the company because I want to kind of protect the founders. This was the company in, again, I'm an investor, early investor. I invested maybe 2019. So this company was trying to build again, based in India, building a social video service. So think of them like a TikTok, right? Now, what was happening in the market then was that India had banned TikTok. And there was this massive kind of demand from customers because that product was, that model was proven to be successful. And there was this mad rush to kind of fill that gap. And I thought that, this is a great opportunity. This is kind of proven out. It's a matter of who captures this market. And I invested in this, in these set of founders who are building in the space. Senior founders, very, very operationally sound, very clear thinking about like why this opportunity exists, why should we execute. Also had a specific angle of attack. They said, oh, we'll not build like a total TikTok clan, a TikTok clone. We'll actually build maybe like a competition so that people will be driven to kind of win awards and that will kind of drive participation. So they had a sound strategy. The company didn't go anywhere. They kind of struggled. They struggled to build the product. Product was launched. There was some struggles with kind of scaling it. Eventually, they had to shut down the company. Like despite huge effort by the founders. So like no doubts about like how much effort the founders put in. And the learnings there for me were twofold. One was that the founder was kind of building this company on a second-hand insight. Oh, like someone else has done it, I will just replicate it. They just didn't have enough time to own the insight. And like as a founder, you have to kind of feel the insight in your bones. Without that, it's very hard to kind of make those small decisions, which you have to take like 100 of them every day. And that was a big struggle. It was a short opportunity. They had to execute really quickly. Otherwise, lots of other people had spotted it and it was very, very competitive. So there was that. And the second one was, this is actually a big learning for me, is I underestimated how hard it is to build a product. I've built like products all my life, technology product. That's what my life has been. And in spite of that, I kind of underestimated. And I would actually think that maybe despite of that, because it wasn't such a big deal
Right.
for me, I assume that it'll be easy for them as well.
Right.
And in retrospect, that is something which I have kind of actually added to my diligence questionnaire, saying that like, yeah, I might find it very easy to grok it, but is it going to be easy for the founding team? Because like really they are the ones who are executing. I'm
Right.
a supporter. I'm a partner, but really like even simple things. Well, actually, building product is not simple, so I shouldn't call it simple. But high quality execution in whatever domain, whether it's like financial operations, whether it's like business operations, product technology, high quality operation execution, it's not a given. So you have to pay a lot of attention to teams. At least as an investor, I pay a lot of now attention to teams about all of these aspects of like how soundly can they even execute.
Right. And as you said, what are the decisions they have to make and what choices are they making? And you have
Yeah,
to make 100 a day. And those small variations can take you in a very different direction.
correct.
True.
Correct. Yeah.
So, Prateek, with that lesson, I would love to launch into my favorite part of the show. We call it the one-line life lessons,
Mm.
and we would love to hear a few of your life lessons.
So, yeah. So I looked at some of the life lessons that you had shared. My life lessons are definitely not as punchy as those, but I do hold them close. I'm happy to share why they're kind of important to me.
Sure.
So the first life lesson for me is actually very, very simple, is that people matter. Often, like I see this all around me, is that like both in our individual journeys, in business journeys, we are often kind of thrown off by either ideas saying that, oh, I want to kind of make more money, or like random numbers saying that, oh, I want my business to scale X numbers. You kind of lose sight of like who you're doing it for.
Right.
And at multiple levels, I've kind of realized that like pulling myself back from pursuing this intellectual idea or this like weird number and say that who is this for? Like, why am I doing this? Who are the people involved? Focus on them, make the right decision by them, and other outcomes will follow.
Right.
So really kind of, saying that, yeah, people matter, focus on that, other things will follow. That's a big one for me. But I have more, yes, because you've given me the homework, so I've kind of done done some work around it. The second one for me is allow yourself to be led by your curiosity.
Love that.
Yeah. This is again, I think maybe I had to kind of learn this because I've grown up in India and like all my early childhood, it seems like that the paths for you were set, that, oh, you either become an engineer or you become a doctor, or like, yeah, sure. What else? Maybe you take the civil service exam and you kind of, go join the administrative services. It took me a long time to like be able to hear my inner voice of like, what's interesting to me, what's exciting, why is it kind of worth pursuing, really be able to hear myself and also trust that instinct saying that, yeah, this will kind of make sense. It might not be making sense right now, but eventually this will. And I think that's true for like most people's and pursuits in life. Like really, it's your individual curiosity which leads you to a path where you bring something to the world which only you can. Otherwise, yeah, I think there's tons of copies of lots of lives out there. You have to kind of find your curiosity and build your own life.
Love it.
So that's number two. Number three is systems are changed only by outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a system, think of it as a political system, it can only be changed dramatically. If it has to be fixed, it is changed dramatically by outsiders. If we think about the idea of America, and like I keep thinking about it a lot because ever since I've kind of seen the Hamilton musical and read the book, like just that idea of these weirdos who were like random people, and they said like, fuck it, I don't care about like this British system anymore. I will create something new. And I see that pattern repeated over and over again, whether it's academia, where there's a young professor, a young researcher saying that like, yeah, this established way of thinking is not right. We have to like, yeah, we have to kind of think of something completely different. So it's really outsiders who bring like systemic change. And that to me personally is kind of very, very kind of exciting. It's something which I'm trying to do by kind of helping a slice of outsiders, which are these outsider founders, and help them kind of break in too. But it's also kind of a check that I put on myself, because like I'm also part of the system in many, many ways. So I have to be cognizant of like, oh, who me or like my system is kind of keeping on the outside, and hence just to be kind of aware of that. But really, yeah, the insight or kind of the learning here is that, yeah, systemic changes, system changes in systems are always brought by outsiders. Insiders always try to maintain the system. We want to be conservative. Yeah.
Yes.
And the last one, I just did 4.
We had a passing grade.
Yeah. The last one is that impact comes from leverage. And this is something which I kind of really internalized when I had kind of put on my product manager hat. Like both at my startup and at other companies, I've led product. I've been an individual product manager. I've kind of led product management functions. And you realize that you can do a million small things. And it's really like the big jump comes from like that one highly leveraged point of action. So really, and that's kind of got me to be a lot more cognizant and aware of trying to understand points of leverage in a system. Think that, oh, if you're trying to change the economic system, what is the point of leverage? What is the pressure point where if you kind of apply the pressure, it kind of has a huge impact. Technology in a very broad brush is a huge, like high leverage tool. Like we have now autonomous cars, like you write a line of code and how cars drive on the road, that changes. That's huge impact. So technology has been a high leverage tool for a while, but these kind of exist in multiple places. So really being a student of how a system operates, where does leverage exist? How do you change it? If you're kind of pursuing impact, I think that's a worthwhile pursuit.
I see a theme there, obviously, not surprising, in what your life lessons are and how you act in your daily life. Right? You do invest in people, as you shared in multiple of those examples, not really the business, not really the startup, because that can and does change. And then you also have these strategic moments where you're looking for those levers, looking for these mavericks that are going to come in and make a seismic change in what they're doing. And in doing so, will make them and make you successful. So thank you for sharing those lessons and for sharing your journey and story. Prateek, really excited for you and what Ahead VC is going to do here in the near future. And glad to have you as a part of the network here on the Industry Show. Thank you once again.
Thanks, Nitin. Thanks for having me. It's always wonderful to chat with you. And thanks for asking me these questions, because very, very thought-provoking. It kind of made me crystallize a lot of these ideas and thoughts which were kind of in a fuzzy, diffuse state in my head. So yeah, thanks for the prompts.
Well, Too kind of you to say that. And we'd love to get you back on here and talk about more of your success stories.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nitin.